Hello, y'all. Happy Veterans Day. My name is Daniel. I am the creator of Heart in the Fight. If you've been paying attention, Scarface made several posts this week talking about this partnership with Heart in the Fight, where we'll be doing weekly uploads on this channel. And I recognize that there are some of you who are familiar with who I am and probably are familiar with Heart in the Fight platform. But for those who are not, and it's your first time seeing me, allow me to make a quick pitch to you. We are a platform that explores the underlying motivation behind fighters. We do that by interviewing Street Beefs fighters across the branches to explore why they fight. We explore their lives, examine the material and emotional conditions that shape who they are, and learn about their future aspirations, whether that's going to be in Street Beefs or they're planning to go pro. In addition to that, we work with fighters to create shows that highlight who they are and represent and build their own brands and create space for conversations within the Street Beefs community. You might recognize the shows, starting with our very first show, Weddle and the Mexican, which stars the Street Beefs West Coast fighters, Weddle and 619. And on the East Coast, we have the East Coast show called The Most Undisputed with the OG Street Beefs light heavyweight champion and new signee to Street Beefs management, Venom Black. And lastly, we have a show improved with my partner, my Heart in the Fight partner, and also co-host Tunde. And he does the show with a popular fighter who I'm certain that he's probably fought at every single branch except for the Texas one, and that is the Canadian. And so each show has a different swag, has a different style. The topics vary, but most importantly, you learn about and from these fighters outside of the fights that you commonly see on the channel or what gets uploaded to this particular channel. And so this is what we are about, giving fighters a platform to connect with their fans and supporters. And so you will see a little bit of that on today's show. But before we go there, I want to make sure I have a few quick announcements. And so I'm going to share a screen with you to ensure that, one, you are showing love to the Heart and Fight family. All right. There we go. And so if you haven't, and this show, like I said, if you haven't, please show us some love by liking and subscribing to our channel. And you see, we have tons of different content. And, especially if you can find it on YouTube, but you can also find us on Facebook and Instagram. You'll find exclusive content there, especially the shows where you won't find it anywhere else. But I think what's important here, when you look at the partnership itself, the partnership with Street Beefs and Heart in the Fight, what you're going to receive is some of the promos and that come before the big fights, like the Venom Black and Showtime that's coming up. And also press conferences leading up to fights. And so if you missed one of the promos or even the press conferences that we've done in the past, the one that you can probably look at, I think, which is most recent, is if you scroll down, you can see here, we have promos of the West Coast invasion. We also have a couple behind the scenes. We have promos of when Shinigami fought Nasty Native. And so we're going to be bringing that to the Street Beefs main channel. And so and for us, we just want to make sure that you are tuning into these fighters. You're learning about what's going on and that you're supporting them as they embark on this journey to be the best in Street Beefs, but also be the best in their life, right? And so if you haven't, make sure you like and subscribe our channel. I'm going to remove that and my last pitch. And so now on December 26th, which is the day after Christmas. So December 26th, the day after Christmas, we will be hosting our second annual end of the year award show where we'll be recognizing, there we go, where we will be recognizing the fighter of the year, KO of the year, submission of the year, fight of the year, and so forth. And so if you are a huge Street Beefs fan and supporter of Street Beefs fighters, you do not want to miss it. So make sure you mark your calendars and you join in on the fun. With that, we will begin the show.
In this corner, let's go!
Bushido Zed, how you doing, my man?
I'm doing well, Daniel. How are you?
Good, brother. Thanks for joining us. And for those who are not familiar, can you just tell us who you are in this Street Beefs community?
So I am Bushido Zed. I run the Street Beefs West Coast branch with my partner, Tiny Tank. And our main spot is in Las Vegas. We have a cage in Las Vegas. We're looking to expand it, actually. So we're going to be having bigger events soon. And we used to do a bit of traveling. We had an event in Arizona, some in California, but there's been some changes. So mainly just Vegas right now. But yeah, that's basically who I am.
And we also want to add on your partner, right? As you said, Tiny Tank to the show. Tiny Tank, how you doing, my man?
Hey, what up? Am I live?
You are live.
What's good, my people? What's good? What's good?
What's good, Martin?
All right. Hey, so I want to ask you. So you introduced these belts into the weight divisions, and so you made sure that every single champ had a belt, right? Which makes sense. I mean, the main branch did it. Yeah, Scrapyard do it, and then you all were able to do that. But then you created an additional belt, and so I'm curious, what was the genesis of this belt, and can you tell us what this new belt is about?
I can let you know exactly how it happened, man. Honestly, we still didn't have all the belts for all the weight classes done, and the guy that created this Sandbox belt, as we actually named it, was going to help us just create an additional weight class belt for one of the champions. But as it was being made, as we were talking back and forth, I decided, since it was going to be a completely different looking belt, he was just going to create something completely different. I decided for it to be something completely different, something that wasn't just another weight class or another boxing or MMA belt, and decided to be something exclusive to the West Coast and something exclusive to the Sandbox at that. And that's just how it came to be, man. It was honestly just going to be something, another weight class belt, and it turned into a whole different thing that I felt like the fighters needed. Would create a little bit more I don't know, more hype for the West Coast, more hype for the Sandbox,
Yeah, and for those who are not familiar, where do you get the term Sandbox? Because when I first posted, who is going to be the Sandbox champion this year, people are like, what is the Sandbox?
Well, the Sandbox is it's the name of the cage in Las Vegas, and it's literally a small box. Martin, do you know the dimensions? I'm not familiar with it.
Yo, I don't know, but it's like 10 by 10.
It's small. I mean, even the little guys don't have a whole lot of room. So when you got big guys in there, it really pushes the pace, and it pushes them to deliver in a way that's just exciting, man. The Sandbox fights are exciting. There's just no room to run, so you got to fight, and so
it's so cool how the name came to be. Like it wasn't the Sandbox right off the bat. Once we made it, that's not what we had in mind. We didn't have in mind for it to be any different than any other cage, but
right,
it's what we had to work with. It's what we had with the space that we have here in the yard in Vegas, and it just became so like such a staple for the West Coast, and a lot of fighters just started calling it that without us at first,
Yeah.
And from there on, it just became the Sandbox. And it's such a, I don't know, the name isn't so intimidating, but the sandbox itself is intimidating. Like, yo, it's
I
dope as
mean,
hell.
you could ask any fighter that's been in there, and they'll understand why it's named that. You know what I'm saying? There's obviously sand in there, but there's a lot of rocks. You know, if you've ever been to an event and I'm reffing in between rounds, I'm throwing rocks out of the cage because there's just so many rocks, and that's just part of the element, man. That's literally part of the fight. Is you're battling your opponent as well as the cage and the rocks in the sand, man. It's crazy. It's nuts. It brings you to a whole new level.
And so when we're referring to the Sandbox champion, I mean, what is it? Is it the person who's, because if y'all were paying attention to the last debate, right? This is part 2. So the first debate that we had a bunch of other West Coast fighters. So we had Free Smoke, Prince KT. I mean, we had a number of fighters on there. And they were debating whether it is them being dominant in this particular location, or is it a concept and idea of the sandbox, right? The sandbox mentality. And so what is it? I mean, do you want to make it specific, or just leave it open for interpretation?
Daniel, you and I had a little bit of, we have a little bit of the same idea on in perspective of what the Sandbox champ is, and I find it a lot more intriguing when it's open to interpretation like that, to where we can discuss. Yo, when I thought of the belt for the Sandbox champ, like, I didn't have anybody specifically in mind, and I wanted it to be discussed more like this. I wanted it to be, a lot of people have different people in mind that they've seen fight in person in the Sandbox, and they're like, oh man, like, that guy just threw down in the Sandbox and he really owned it. He like took, dominated every inch of that cage, and really something there, and I don't know if I cut off right there.
No, you're good.
I think what's cool about the
Y'all still hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Martin.
It cut off a little bit for me.
Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead, Bushido.
Yo.
You were going to say.
Oh.
Y'all let me know.
Well, now we lost him.
Yeah, no, I can hear you.
Good?
Yeah.
I can't hear you guys for real, like, at all.
All right, and for those, so as you work out that tech,
hold on.
For those who are looking at these comments and you're wondering, well, how are these people commenting? And so the way this is set up, if you go to Heart in the Fight YouTube channel, you're able to comment on here. But if you're on the Streetbeefs channel, you're not going to be able to comment. We can see your comments, but we're not going to be allowed to bring them up to the screen. And so you have to be specifically on our channel, on our Heart in the Fight YouTube channel in order, or even our Facebook, in order to comment. So that's the only way that we can do it. So if you have a comment and you want to say what's up to the fighters, because we're bringing on fighters, if you want to say what's up, definitely move over to this channel. But if you don't, if you just want to be in the audience, stay in the Streetbeefs, the main channil, and stay there, relax, kick back as we bring on fighters to really debate this issue. And so,
guys, go sub to Heart in the Fight, please. Okay,
thank you.
It's worth
it.
Brother. It's worth it.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. So let's bring Tiny Tank back on. Can you hear us?
For sure.
I'm just playing.
You got me. I was like, oh, what?
He's done that before, dude. That's why I was staring at him. I was like, oh, no.
I got you. I can hear y'all now.
Yeah. All right. And so you were finishing your thought?
Right? Yeah, Sandbox champ. So for me, it's cool. In my mind, it's a little more like it's almost like a pound for pound belt, because there's no weight class, right? Every other champion is a champ of their weight class. So it's limited no matter how you look at it. When you bring in a Sandbox belt, well, now we don't have weight classes. Now we got to look at other categories, which are, up for debate. And everyone has a strong opinion. And honestly, in the last debate, everyone had a very valid opinion. You know what I'm saying? And it's cool to see all these fighters and what makes what they think will be the Sandbox champ. So that's why I like it. It's open and it gets people stirring up. So I love it.
No, as soon as you're introduced to the belt, so I just want to give a shout out real quick. Thank you, So Gang Skits. Appreciate the sub. And for anyone else jumping on here, please sub away. We really appreciate it. Thanks, KT, for jumping in.
KT.
Everyone knows I'm going to win every award this year. Hey, but he is, right? For someone who I'm doing the background and we have a bunch of judges, I mean, we'll explain a little bit around the awards show at a later time, but I just want to say KT is in the running. So he's not lying here. Not for every category, but he is in the running. And so I just wanted to say that. But yes, when you first introduced the belt, man, it was like immediate debate. And so people had different ideas. They were like, it's someone who fights at the location, who's been dominant, and so they were pitching all these different ideas. And so what I did from our last debate, right, they named a number of fighters. And so I just put it on our YouTube, on our Heart and Fight YouTube. I put a poll out there and said, okay, well, here are the fighters that they named in the last debate. Who do you think is the Sandbox champion? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on all the fighters who are in the back room right now. And I'm going to read out the results, and then we will have a discussion around it.
All right.
So if you can, Tunde, can you bring in, we have probably the most popular fighter, their Street Beefs history. Not Street Beefs history, but Street Beefs West Coast history. Shinigami.
Let's go.
I'm just a guy from the middle of nowhere. What are you talking about?
Let's go.
And then,
let's go.
Exactly.
Not gonna lie though, I had some dude walking around my neighborhood doing like home repair estimates, and he saw me outside. He's like, "Hey, are you Shinigami?" And he was up like 3 houses down. Dude. I had my headband on. I'm like, "Yeah, I was just out there slumming it, dude, just getting some sun."
You should have just hit him in the head.
and then I also want to bring in one of the light heavyweight top contenders in Hitman.
Let's go.
Hitman, how you doing, my man?
What up, boys? What's up, fellas?
Let's go.
What's going on?
What's up, bro?
Chilling.
I know you got a fight coming up.
Yes,
how you
sir.
feel about the fight coming up?
I feel good. I've been getting my sparring in, so the confidence comes with that. So it's gonna be a good one. He's a good technical fighter, so I'm excited.
This is gonna be your second time in the Sandbox, bro, or is it gonna be your third?
This will be my second time in the Sandbox, but I was in the first two at Ojai when you guys were doing it.
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
Yep.
Shout out Rachel.
What up, Free Smoke?
And so I'm gonna read the poll results. And so I put on a survey just so that you know. Let me see if it shows up. No, you can't see it. And so I'm just gonna read it. And so it says, and so I asked who should be crowned the Street Beefs West Coast Sandbox champion. And I put the list of names that came out of the first debate. And so that was 619, Free Smoke, Nasty Native, El Coyote, and 925 Pride. And so at number one, coming in number one, y'all want to guess?
Coyote.
619.
I'll say El Coyote. Yeah.
We're just gonna name everybody you just said.
I'm gonna say El Coyote.
Yes, at 41%, he came up top.
Heavy vote. Wow.
And yes, and there's a tie for second. 619
Okay.
and Nasty Native.
Yeah.
And third by and the third person is Free Smoke.
Okay.
14%, and then the last was 925 Pride. And so I'm going to ask you, do you think they got it right? Do you think the polls are right? Do you think that those are the prominent figures that we all should be considering for this belt, or are there others? Did they overlook any other fighters that are in the branch?
In my opinion, I think it's a lot wider than that. You know? I feel like we got, so many of the Sin City strikers, first of all, have been in the Sandbox every time, man. And to me, it's not only like the specific fights, that they've been in. It's just that they step up every time. Every time that we
Yeah.
need somebody to step up for a fight, Sandbox, Mustache fills in. Every time that we need somebody to go in, Battle Born is right there. Say so KO, man, is always out here. Crap, he wasn't going to fight, and he stepped up. So that's just a whole other element, whole other thing. Availability and just how often they're just willing to put down, even if they don't have a fight schedule, even if they didn't sign up for an event. And they fill in a lot of spots, which I think I think that should be considered a pro.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
Any others?
well,
Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, I'll go ahead. Honestly, if you just go on that list, man, any one of those fighters, you could easily make a case for them and say they deserve it. They really deserve it. You know what I'm saying? So you almost have to look at a wider picture and more things and more, of not just inside the cage, but maybe outside the cage as well. How do they carry themselves? Do they promote the sandbox? Do they carry the sandbox with them, as they walk around? When you look at them, you think of the sandbox. In my brain, that's what I'm looking for. You know what I'm saying? Like, if there's some other pop that was West Coast and we needed one person to represent us, who's that going to be? You know what I'm saying? Like, who is our champ? Who's the West Coast champ of all of us? And so that's where my brain goes. But that's just me.
Hitman, what do you think?
Those are a bunch of good names. I definitely agree they should be up there. But if you look at from a longevity point, dominant point, they fight the best guys that come up point. It's Coyote. He went and fought one of the Wolverines. No freaking slouch. That dude can hurt somebody if he really wanted to. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
he went in there and he put on a performance. You know what I mean? And
yeah,
I don't know. I might be a little biased just because he's from my neck of the woods, but I mean the proof's in the pudding. I mean the man's doing everything out there and then some. So, but everyone else out there has put up some banger fights. They put up some, 925 Pride is only 20 years old and look what he's doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And 619 before this East Coast and West Coast invasion. Look what he was doing to fighters too. You know what I mean? And it wasn't not just that was a close fight. It's like, dang, he powered through that guy again. Oh, they powered through that guy again. You know what I mean?
And bro, and to add to your point, man, if I could fill in real quick with El Coyote, not only is it the Vegas fighters that show so much support to the West Coast, I mean to the Sandbox in particular, like El Coyote, every time that something has come up when we need a little donation, like towards belts or towards the cage, and when it first came up, Coyote was right there. Whenever we need anything like that, man, I feel like all of that I think about when I think about the Sandbox champ, and Coyote fills every single one of those boxes.
Yeah. Hey, and that's another thing too, how you guys were saying, how you conduct yourself. You're not a jerk in the group. You're not out there, putting people down. He's a competitive dude and he does it right, and I respect that. Like, I'm the type of guy too, like I'll fight anybody too, and so when I see a lot of the fighters are like that, you know what I mean? But just the way he carries himself, like you got to learn to appreciate it. You know what I mean? Like that's a main detail in my eyes as well.
Yeah.
Shinigami, any thoughts? Any additional thoughts you want to add to this conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree with El Coyote. Some of the poll results are a little interesting. I mean, I kind of see where Tank and Zed are coming from too. I just to keep things simple for myself, I kind of just focused on who was the more dominant fighter in the yard in 2021, which, if we're being objective, is absolutely El Coyote. No disrespect to Nasty Native. He's absolutely my boy, but he's not as active. And I understand why he's not as active. He does come from actually the East Coast to fight for us. But the amount of fights he's had, especially in 2021, isn't anywhere near as close to like Coyote or Free Smoke or 619. And I actually kind of narrowed it down to those three. And then out of those three, I definitely would have to say El Coyote. But Zed and Tank bring up an interesting point too. Guys that like Mustache and Battleborn that just step in there when they're needed.
Yeah.
Because they're there and they're able to. That's another interesting thing, and I would actually have to look into those guys a little more. To give my real feedback on that. But I definitely know Mustache is always doing everything. Reffing, stepping in to fight. I mean, I'd be doing the same thing if I was in Vegas, myself. But yeah, definitely, El Coyote for sure.
Hey, we know that for sure. Hey, we appreciate you, bro.
Hey, but Free Smoke, one thing I love about Free Smoke, he's not the biggest cat. He got a mouth, but he'll fight anybody, and I love about that dude. I love that about that dude, for real.
Hey, it's so crazy because, like, he will fight anybody, bro.
Yeah.
It's like Battleborn, too.
The men that have been close with him, you have no idea how much he talks about him and how hard he trains for those matches, man. Like, he has so much confidence in himself, and he's like anything that's been close, he wants to run it back, and he wants to, prove that. So I don't know. Free
Smoke, he's a warrior, man. He's a warrior. Getting to train with him the last time I was out in Vegas, and then hanging with him when we went to the East Coast Invasion definitely changed my opinion of the man a little bit, for sure. A lot of it, actually. But yeah, man, the dude is definitely a beast. He trains hard. Me and him did I don't know how many rounds, and that jumping outside your weight class like that, and the way we were sparring like that. That's warrior mentality for real.
He's trying to evolve, Yeah, he's trying to evolve, and that's what it comes down to. Is when you fight this game, like you're not here to stay at one level. You want to keep going to each level. You want to go up and up and up. And I just remember when I fought MDH, Free Smoke was drinking an IPA, and he was talking the whole time. I go, this little motherfucker. I was like, this guy. He's cool people, you know what I mean? He supports and loves his people, and you can't have but the utmost respect for that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
He's a real motherfucker. In the running too. Like, he's always in there. You can't take it from him. He's always in there.
Yep.
And do you think there's anyone in particular that, because we have 2 events left. So we have the November event and the December event. And so do you think, is there anyone who can jump the line with those particular events still left? And if they put on a performance, who do you think can jump the line?
I do. I do actually. I'm going to just say a couple off the top of the head. One I already mentioned, Mustache. I feel like he comes out and he gets another finish. Like, there's no denying that cat, bro. Like, he's dominant in there. Mm-hmm. Ever since, he's had some battles in there. He's lost in there. But he's also, like, as of recent, has just dominated his opponent. That and a guy that just helps out with everything that goes on. He's mine and Bushido's right-hand man, WA, man. Like, dude, he is part of every single thing, and he's one of the most monster dudes on the West Coast.
For real.
He doesn't fight as often because he's involved in so many things. But if he were to go in and defend, he could defend his Master Division belt. I don't see anybody even close right now in the Master Division.
Yeah.
And he could just go ahead and defend it twice and just be at the top of the list. So both of those cats are like right there for me. I don't know.
I think for me, who comes to mind, probably Wedo and Golden Arms, just because when they win their fights, it's such in a dramatic fashion. It's so violent. You know what I'm saying? It's so shocking. The way they're swinging their punches, there's nothing like a Wedo fight, and there's nothing like a Golden Arms fight. So if these 2 individuals were to fight other people, maybe each other in the future, in the next 2 months, it could totally shake things up. It depends on what happens. So, and
when they got their adrenaline going, it's contagious. Like,
it's crazy. Yes.
Like Golden Arms' last fight against not say so, but Bearded King, like, he asked me to be in his corner. And man, I was just the way they were throwing. I was in it too. You know what I mean? And, And Wedo and Dangerous. I know you guys were all there, but man, you guys could just feel the hype behind these fights because it was just a couple months of it just building up, you man. And
yeah, exactly.
I was ready, but those definitely could be some guys who come up and sneak up because they both got power in both hands. They're both strong.
Killer power, yeah.
I think 619 maybe could jump the line because I know he wants to do a couple of things. And like I think you were saying something about 3 fights in one event. Now I could just be 619 being 619 and you know doing the whole cocky, funny, talking smack kind of thing, or you could be serious because 619 is wild like that. If Free Smoke didn't have an injury, I think he's waiting to heal up before he goes back next year. I would say he might be able to jump the line. Other than those guys. Probably Mustache maybe. Or yeah, I agree with Widow too. I mean, Widow's a monster. He's a monster. He's also heavily involved. We're going on that criteria. I'd say he definitely jumps to near the top of the list too. We're going on who's got dominant fights and who's involved and helps out. Definitely, Widow is definitely up in the running and might be able to jump the line too.
It just all depends on who 619 fight, in my opinion. I know he's got to get a tune-up fight for heavyweight, adjust and stuff like that. But if he goes in there and freaking puts on a show and just is rocking these heavy dudes.
What if Big Daddy William?
What happened?
What if you rematches Big Daddy William?
That's a banger too. That was wild. I think 619 should go down in weight. He's already 205, already cut up and lean.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's a fight to make. I mean, Big Daddy Williams, he's evolved too in the last year and a half.
He's a little bigger. He was kind of thin when he fought at the first event,
Oh,
he's gained some weight.
Yeah, he looks good. He looked good, and his punches felt good too. I'd like to see that one run back too. Tank's right.
And so let me ask this: so if 619, because there's a couple people who are making the claim that they're going to fight more than once in the next event. Right, so you had Nasty Native who said he's willing to fight twice or even 3 times, and so is 619 saying the exact same thing. And so does that change the dynamics? How many times they fight in a day? Does that change your perception of the most dominant? Okay,
man, anybody who fights twice, it blows my mind. It really does. Even if the first one's a short one, man, like you have to mentally and physically prepare to fight, and it's exhausting before and after, And so for anyone to just be able to just let me get another one. That blows my mind. And yeah, you get a bunch of points for that if you ever do that.
Let me work my way up to that because they wild.
And so, but does it depend on the type of opponent though? Because what if it's just like a bunch of newcomers?
Well, and that's the thing is like when people fight twice, it really has to make sense. Like it really has to be like, is it going to be a challenge? Are they going to be okay? Are they both, health safety wise? So if it's just 2 newcomers, I don't really see that happening. It doesn't really prove a point. It doesn't add to someone's, Sandbox legacy. But yeah, if it's competitive and they're fine, then I don't see why someone can't fight twice.
Yeah, fighting twice
talking about
is
that's
an animal, but I mean, I was even going to try to do that. Then I got COVID. Like, I don't know if anyone remembers. I was going to try. I was supposed to do a beef fight at the anniversary event, and I was going to do that, and I was going to try to fight Nasty Native then same day, but it didn't pan out that way. You either got to be like prepared for it in advance, or you kind of got to get your first match out of the way quick and clean, and come out of that with no injuries. Otherwise, you're in for a bad time trying to fight more than once in a day.
True.
And for those who are looking at this, just know that this is El Coyote right here.
I knew it was going to come at least once.
I mean, does it count as 6 hillbillies though when you beat the guy that beat 5 hillbillies in one night?
That's some Highlander stuff. Do you absorb the power or not?
I mean, I don't know how it works. No disrespect to my boy Wolverine, though.
And so let me ask this. Okay, so I'm just kind of creating scenarios to just try to figure out to bend the kind of perception that we're having on this debate. Because right now, I think a lot of people are looking at, well, how dominant were they in fights and the particular like location. So they're looking at the sandbox, but also how dominant they were in the sandbox. And so let's just say, right, that 619 fights someone at his weight class, his current weight class, and then fights a heavyweight the same day. So going up a weight class, does that change the perception?
Yeah.
And so say if Nasty Native fights in the same the same weight, does that like do you give more precedence to one over the other?
I do. I feel like I do.
Yeah, I definitely think you should there. Yeah.
Those fights in his weight class, wins, then fights at heavyweight and wins that. I don't know how, like we can
That's a
say
big statement. Yeah.
Super dominant, like that's crazy.
Yeah,
and this is the real lion. So right here, I just want to make sure that we shout out that's real lion from Scrapyard.
Oh yeah,
So he is a light heavyweight champion.
I want to see that, man.
Hey,
yeah, he's trying to get to the sandbox.
I want him in the sandbox.
Or Martin. We'll get you taken care of, man. Actually, we'll probably just talk to Fire Chicken.
And so we have, I think this is Say So. Is this Say So? Say So KO.
Yeah, that's Say So.
Yes.
I mean, that's an I mean, I don't know if this match is in the works or not, but if he's referring to 619 fighting him and then fighting the main event, I mean, what are our thoughts about that on the same day?
I mean, I think it's wild, but I mean, he might be able to pull it off. I don't know. I mean, 619's got that light heavyweight cardio, and all of his fights are distance fights. He doesn't really have, KOs under his belt, but he's got ring control, and he just pressures you. I mean, that's what he does. He pressures you. I sparred with him when we were on the East Coast, and that's what it was, man. It was just all close in, no breathing room, no time to react, no time to really do anything.
I think with Say So, it's a little more of a. I mean, 619's a great boxer. He's been doing this a long time. But I mean, you run into those guys who just got it, who got that power, who got that that natural ability. And Say So is one of those guys that, like, if I know I'm gonna have to fight him one day, especially with all the work he's been putting in. Like, you can't take that guy lightly at all.
No,
he hits hard. And to go from that to TME, I mean, no offense to TME, I'm sure he's been putting in work too. I just haven't seen him fight in a while. But Say So's been active and he's been punching hard, and it's just gonna be. I know it's gonna be a good fight. And if 619 can go in there and do that to both guys in a day, I mean, like you said, what can we do at that point? There's nothing else you can do. He's already proved what he's done. He's already shown, like I said, proof's in the pudding, and 619 been making it. So
that's word.
Yeah.
But does that, right? So say he does that. I mean, I'm not guaranteeing anything. Say he does that. Does that trump the work that El Coyote has been putting in the sandbox? I can't remember. He has a crazy stat. Like, I think in every single fight, he has knocked the person down. That is a crazy stat.
If 619 finished both of his fighters in those fights, then I say yeah. But Coyote has just been so dominant.
Yeah, Coyote has like 16 knockdowks. It's crazy. Yeah.
And how many fights? I can't remember how many fights. It's like 5 or 6 fights.
He's 6-0. If we're only counting Soundbox, it's 5. But if we're counting like his entire record, including beating Wolverine, that's 6-0. And out of 6 fights, he's got like 15, 16 knockdowns and 5 knockouts.
Yeah,
that's insane.
Truth be told, that's and like I said, I spent most of the day doing research to get ready for this, and that is pretty much why El Coyote tops my list, is because he is. We're just counting dominance for sure. There's nobody that's been both more active and more dominant than him this whole year. It's just not happening.
And the man's durable. He's tough as nails. His fight with Legion. Man, now that one was a scrap. He got up and said, okay. I was like, all right. I was like, oh, man, he came back. That was crazy, man. It's one of my favorite
stay
fights.
composed, yeah.
Yep. And he's fighting again.
Yeah.
Oh, he's fighting at the November event.
Can you reveal who?
Yeah.
Inside scoop?
Nope.
That was up to Martin, dude. I don't know about that one.
All right, he's fighting me. He's fighting. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Fight Wama.
I don't know, man. Wama's good. Wama's a killer.
Yeah, he is a killer.
He's not in the conversation.
Yeah, I think Wama already won the belt, and so this is just kind of second and third place.
Yeah. Wama's like, I'm letting y'all talk about it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, Wama's like the Chuck Norris of street beefs, dude. He doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the earth down.
Yeah.
That's how he gets ready for fights.
Yep.
Yeah, we lost you for a second. We lost you.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah,
Oh,
Wama
no,
heard you talking. You said his name too
I
many
had to
times.
leave, man.
He goes, I'm not a part of this. You leave me out of this.
And so, is there anything that I think was also what's fascinating, right? Because Nasty Native has certainly put in a lot of work, right? But I'm also trying to look at, well, what's in front of him, right? He had 2 belts. And so, that's a huge compliment. He had the boxing belt, but he also has the MMA belt. And so he's coming back, right? Because, his pro debut has been extended a little further out. And so he's coming back. And so is there anything that he can do within the next 2 months that can pretty much eclipse what we've seen out there?
In my mind, and Nasty Native's in an interesting position because he can do boxing. He can also do MMA. So just like 619 can do 2 weight classes, Nasty Native can do 2 different types of competition. So yeah, that definitely weighs heavy if he goes in and he's dominant against all these other heavyweights, MMA and boxing, then what do you say to that? You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely possible.
That would be a good fight, though.
Yes, that would be a fight.
I would love to watch that fight, Fiji, but I mean, I'm trying to get my belt back from some point.
We need Poi Dog back. Him and Fiji had that war in Sandbox. That's one of my favorite fights. It's crazy.
Yeah, that was a banger. I was lucky enough to be there live for that one.
Said he was one and done though.
Yeah, I know. That's unfortunate. But he moved to Hawaii, and I talked to him a little bit. He said, let's start up something in Hawaii. So maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do Street Beefs in Hawaii.
That'd be cool.
Street Beefs going to be worldwide in a decade. Watch.
Let's do it.
A branch in every country.
Exactly.
Branch in every other state and a branch in every other country.
You got to solve all the beefs, man. Every single beef.
All the beefs.
And let me ask this question: are we counting the West Coast invasion? Are we taking any of that into consideration?
Oh, I thought that was off the top. I thought you were just gonna take that into consideration just because.
Because remember, we're leaving it up for interpretation, right? Because it could be just the fights in the Sandbox, but it can also be the Sandbox is a mentality that the West Coast branch has. And so is there a fighter that has that mentality? Like, when you think about a Sandbox, it's like, especially in that Sandbox, there's no way to run. The only thing that you can do is fight out of it.
So that's a perfect question, man. And for me, I think about it like this. During the invasion, was there a fighter that imposed the Sandbox will upon one of those fighters? An East Coast fighter. In my mind, it always comes back, right, to El Coyote, man. And he literally treated that cage like it was a box. Like there was nowhere for Corey to run. And it blew my mind, man. I didn't know how it was happening. I didn't expect it. And he kept the pressure on, and it was crazy. And for me, he literally brought the Sandbox to the East Coast and was like, hey, this is us. This is what we're doing over there. You know what I'm saying? And it was a cool moment for me. So
So did Smoke.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. So did Free Smoke, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's very true.
And Smoke went in there and did that with some ease too. He looked like he was.
Man,
I took 3 breaths and the fight's over. I go, oh.
Yeah. You look over at the hot dogs and the burgers. Yeah. You look back, you're like, oh man, this one's over.
Yeah, Free Smoke needs some smoke. Who got the blunt? That's it, dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at the list of the fighters that went in the invasion, it was all most of us were champions. Former champion here, but I mean that was my fault. You know, and then everybody who wasn't a champion, with the exception of J-Dub, who was making her debut, was a contender or close to being a contender.
Yeah, I was gonna say you guys had some good fighters go out. Like Bricks is another guy who's really talented. I thought he did awesome out there. He put his punches together well. Like Shinny said, you guys brought out some real contenders out there, man. And like I know a lot of us on the West Coast were like wanted to go, but we were proud like just to see y'all over there. You know what I mean? Like it was an awesome feeling, you know.
For sure, man. Hey, round 2, we're gonna keep doing this thing. We're gonna get all of our fighters over there. We're gonna keep doing it. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, so. Yeah, and that was another thing too. Like, yeah, Coyote, Free Smoke, Walk, 925. Those guys all got impressive wins over there too. I mean, that's definitely was something I was thinking about too, especially with Free Smoke when I was putting him in that top 3. Was how fast he won that fight with that knee against Viking, and that was nuts. That was nuts. Cracked his ribs, dude.
Yeah,
fractured.
That's a very dominant performance, man, and you can't overlook it. You really can't.
Can't overlook it. But I mean, we all keep coming back to El Coyote, though. I mean, that dude, everything he's done has just been just on another level of dominance.
Yeah, I'm sticking with Coyote just from everything. Like I said, unless there's a big upset or someone who crosses that line in this next event, I mean, you just gotta go. You gotta go with Coyote, or you know what I mean. In my opinion, at least,
Yeah,
it's gonna be good.
Hey, before I hop off because my phone is dying, I gotta go charge it for a bit. What if a newcomer, like somebody that just commented right now, Island Strong, comes back, fights Wama, has a dominant performance, and then fights again in December? Are they available? Or are they open to being considered, or what y'all think?
I think so. I think you should have those late round comers who pull off a great victory or whatever they do. You know what I mean? Like, why not add them to the running? I mean, they proved themselves. They showed themselves. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
it's all there.
Yeah, I mean, 2021 ain't over yet. I mean, we still gotta, count the next 2 events. But I mean, even with that, that's still some real stiff competition and criteria to kind of try to overcome between if we're just sticking to pure dominance, El Coyote, and if we're factoring other things in, then you got other guys in the running, like obviously Wade, Free Smoke for sure still because he helps out a lot, Mustache, and Wedo. Those guys are all, factors that even like that anyone would have to, Obama or anyone else would have to do something really, really amazing to really kind of overcome those hurdles.
I gotta charge my phone, but it was dope. I'm still gonna be listening in though, and if there's still time at the end, I might hop back on. But I gotta go charge this thing.
All right, thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Good seeing you again, Martin.
All right, and so I'm curious. If we're opening it up a little bit, then where do we place Duva in this? Because if we're looking at the West Coast invasion, then it opens up the California fights that happened.
Right.
Then I think you have to place Duva somewhere.
You do have to place him somewhere.
That's true.
That's a hard. And even you think of Diesel, man, Lil Diesel. He's
and Lil Diesel as well.
Yeah, and so there really are just almost an infinite amount of cases and names that you could make. And so in my mind, if you really want to put a stamp on this on your resume, then November, December is your time, man, because Martin and I are looking, we're watching, we're seeing what everyone's about, we're seeing your mentality, and especially how you perform in the Sandbox. But who are you as a person? Who are you for Street Beefs? Do you represent us well? You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna be looking. So November, December. If you guys really want to make a statement, come to one of those events, get selected, come fight and put on a performance, man. And who knows? Like that belt could be awarded off of one performance. If it's so amazing, who's to say that it couldn't be? You know what I'm saying? So that's my best advice for now is yeah, we have to look at all the criteria. We got to look at Duva. We got to look at Diesel, the guys we haven't mentioned. And there's probably a list of more. But if you really want to make a statement, these next two events is when you got to do it. You really got to make a statement.
Anyone know who Randy Hawkins is?
No.
Oh, Lord B.
You see that?
What's up, Lord
He said,
Best
is Free Smoke? He's asking, is Free Smoke the king of hillbillies?
I think he's asking who is the king of the hillbillies that we keep referring to. Yeah, I don't know who Randy Hawkins is. I didn't see him in the YouTube chat, so he must be on one of the other streams. But I don't know, man. I got a rematch with Striking Viking once I can get my crowd back together, and that's my response to that. There's still a line. Sorry. No, I'm not trying to beat. Man, there's still a line. I gotta. My focus is on Striking Viking. Possibly whoever. If you and Martin want me to fight one person before I try to get my belt back, then I'll do that. And then I got to try to get my belt back. That's my next 2 to 3 fight focus right now. So, Randy Hawkins wants a shot at. It's gonna have to probably be out of those 3 fights, 2 to 3 fights.
Randy Hawkins.
Back to the topic.
Or something, man.
Yeah, back to the topic. I'm curious.
So as soon as they put the comment up, I had to respond because I know Randy Hawkins is supposed to be watching. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with Zed too. There's still that little chance, but again, that's pretty much it. You either do something amazing or it's really El Coyote, really.
And so let me. I see there's some conversation going on in the comments, and so I just want to give some context because I hear people asking questions. What's going on with this hillbilly? So here's the thing.
Oh, let me hear it.
And so what happened was, right? So Wolverine was fighting El Coyote. So to the lead up, there was a press conference, and so in the press conference, El Coyote came in hot. He said, "Who did you beat?" And he said, "You beat a bunch of." What did he say? You beat 5 hillbillies, or because I think Wolverine was saying that he beat a bunch of guys in one night, right, for the Tough Man tournaments. And so his counter to that, El Coyote's counter to that was, "You beat a bunch of hillbillies. I'm different."
Oh,
and so
no, that's what it was. It was 5. You beat 5 drunk hillbillies in one night. I'm different. That's what it was. Drunk hillbilly.
Yes, and so. That joke kind of spurred from that moment. And so when El Coyote beat Wolverine, I mean, as he said, he stands by it. He says he is the king of the hillbillies. And so when you hear that, just know that it's just El Coyote being funny, but also playing with that moment in the press conference.
Coyote, sure. Coyote, wow, that's funny as hell.
He's super wild. Yeah, and Tank said Wolverine is certainly a top fighter in Street Beefs, hands down. He is certainly a legend in Street Beefs. And so I think that's what made the moment so much bigger because El Coyote, like I said, I had a conversation with El Coyote before this, right? And so as we were kind of setting up the fight, I said, I asked him how much experience he had. He said, I had some experience in the past. And I know that we had to set up Wolverine with someone who had experience, who can be kind of his equal. And so we weren't sure. We knew that, El Coyote was our best option, but, El Coyote showed up. He was not playing around, and he made a statement. And so as you saw in the behind the scenes, so if you haven't seen the behind the scenes, go to the Heart in the Fight Facebook group. You will see on our Facebook page, you will see the behind the scenes between their fight. El Coyote looks into the camera after the fight and he says, "I told you." Right? And so
dope.
Yeah, what makes that win impressive, too, when you think about it, is the fact that Wolverine trains a lot of the OG guys, like a lot of the big-name OG guys. I mean, Iraqi Assassin, Lord Besteban, all those guys were training over at Neutral Corner, forever. And he works with a lot of the guys that are on the Wall of Fame, and Coyote just went in there and beat him, and he did it, as we've all pointed out, dominant fashion. So that's huge.
Yeah,
it is. Yeah,
that's big. That's a little more than huge. That's larger than life kind of stuff.
yeah.
Because that's the first thing you think about when you see the Street Beef stuff. I think of Wolverine, the OG stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure.
Come on. When I first heard that fight was gonna happen, I was hyped as heck. Like, come on, there's two big names right there. Yeah. But
kind of got to look at it like Fist of Fury, right? When Bruce Lee goes into the dojo and is like, "I want to fight the head guy," and then just whoops everybody else. It's kind of almost what Coyote did. He kind of whipped everybody else by transitive property by beating Wolverine. It's wild.
No, I mean, it catapulted his popularity for certain, right? Because we went out to the West Coast Invasion on the strength of 619's kind of momentum. So we started off with 619 and Venom Black, and then it was Wedo and Bad News, and then it kind of snowballed into all these other fights. Shinigami versus Striking Viking, and then it was like, oh, we had a huge card, we had a bunch of fighters coming out. But then when we left, it seemed like we had a new king of the West Coast branch. So 619 was kind of occupying that, like, I'm not only the Joker, but I'm the king. Yeah. And then El Coyote came back as the king.
Yeah, El Coyote came in like a dark horse and just stole the thunder, bro.
Yeah, and so it makes it hard. So when you have these debates now, it makes it hard not to really reflect on El Coyote's body of work, right? Because it kind of went under the radar for a while.
Yeah.
Until that happened, and we're like, oh, we were reminded how dominant he was the entire year.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure. And the story could be different right now. If say 619 had a different performance against Venom Black, that changes things, and that goes with other performances that day as well. So it really it's all up in the air, no matter which way you look at it. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
Yeah, this is El Coyote. Probably responding to some of the hate he's getting.
Y'all making the IE boys mad. Look at him. He's going off.
The IE, yeah.
Hey, guys, I'm about to pull a tiny tank. My phone about to die. But thanks for having me on, Daniel. My vote is still on El Coyote. Yeah, so I'll see you guys.
But before you leave, I think we're just going to wrap up the show. And so I know we've been on here for an hour. And so I know Shinigami said, what was your vote? El Coyote?
El Coyote.
Hitman? El Coyote?
Coyote.
And I'm not going to put Bushido Zed on the spot, right? And so
hey,
we're just going to leave it at that.
For Tiny Tank, dude. He deserves
How about that?
Tank.
I mean, you know what? I can't argue with that either.
See? He can win it too.
He's got a point. He's got a point.
He's gonna be comeback fighter of the year.
That, especially Tank, we wouldn't have all of this. No one would know who I am. I can't honestly, because Tank is the one who let me in literally the last second when I was like, "Oh, cool, let me come down and fight." Because there was a mix-up. I've told that story before, but the long story short was, I got mixed up. I didn't know that it was going to be in California. I got in literally the last second, and the rest is history.
Yeah, the legend of Shinigami was born.
Because of Martin. Because of Martin, man.
Yeah, you guys are the founding fathers of Street Beefs, the West Coast.
Yep,
absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The West Coast.
So I appreciate. Yeah, absolutely, and that's why I want to bring y'all on, right? Is to give this kind of grander and older perspective, right? Because I know some of the new bucks, some of the young bucks are going to vote for what's happening now, but I think y'all have a much greater landscape analysis of what's happened throughout the year,
for sure,
and you have a better feel of who's been dominant. So I just wanted to bring y'all on, get your perspective, and so I appreciate y'all for coming on. Lord Bestamon said, I like the Coyote fight. The dude with Drez, I've seen that.
Legion, yep.
Legion, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's a big
with the slow-mo.
And here's the thing, right? And so, again, if you're just tuning in now, I just want to put this out there. We're doing our second
Thanks, Alex. That's
annual
awesome.
award show that's coming up on the 26th of December. So make sure you tune in where we're going to look at the Fighter of the Year, KO of the Year, Fight of the Year. And who knows, the Coyote versus Legion could be on there. Also, the Coyote versus Wolverine can be on there. So there can be a number of fights. And so we looked at a number of fights throughout the year, and we put them in a category, into the respective categories, and we brought on a bunch of different judges so they can help us select the winners of each of these categories. And so if you're not busy, definitely come check it out. It will be on the Streetbeefs channel, but also on our channel as well. And so that you will learn who got identified as those kings of and queens, potentially queens of those particular categories, because we also have female fighters here. And so we also want to consider them as well. So as always, we always appreciate everyone who tunes in to Heart in the Fight. If you haven't, please like and subscribe to the channel. Like Streetbeefs channel, Lord Bestovan's channel. We also have the GoPro channel. We have the Demon Boys channel. And so in the Streetbeefs channel, the Streetbeefs West Coast channel. So certainly show some love that way. And I appreciate your time. Until the next time we see y'all, like again, we're going to be uploading and going live weekly on a weekly basis with a number of different shows. And so this was just our first time coming on the channel, just to give you an idea of the conversations that are happening in the Streetbeefs West Coast branch. All right, we're trying to determine who is the Sandbox champion. And if you can engage in a dialogue, engage in the conversation. You can go to the Streetbeefs West Coast Facebook group and you can give your 2 cents. And this dialogue and this debate will continue until we announce who wins the actual title, the belt. And so till the next time, I appreciate y'all. As always, make sure you double down and dig deep on your own commitments to your life. Appreciate it, y'all. Talk to y'all soon.